Hi again. This is Ron, and this is the second of the educational videos that I have posted, designed to make you efficient and proficient at using Excel. So many of the jobs that you might apply for or your current position at work um, requires that you have a working knowledge of Excel. Excel is becoming used more and more in the workplace than ever before, and having the skills of being proficient at Excel will make you a more valuable employee. And it's because of that that this little one-room schoolhouse has been put together and a number of videos created that hopefully you'll find are written in plain English so that you could actually get into the actual work and understand what it is that you're doing. And you'll find that your knowledge of Excel will be an extremely powerful tool to allow you to get a lot of good stuff done at work that you couldn't do otherwise. And so this particular video I have titled Education for Excel Number 2. Hopefully you're watching this after you have already watched Excel number 1, and for some reason if you started with this, if you'll notice on the bottom of the screen is the address of my website. I would copy that address down, get out of this particular video, and then go into the site, and when you go into the site you'll be able to pick out Education for Excel number 1. And then hopefully when you get through with that, you'll be more knowledgeable than you are about Excel than when you started. And I really and truly would appreciate when you get through with that, if you take a minute or two to post below in the space provided a comment on what you thought of the video. If you loved it and it was wonderful and you could give me a thumbs up, that would be great. If there was stuff in there that you would have liked to have been different or you didn't understand or whatever, don't be bashful about giving me a thumbs down and telling me what it is that should have been different that would have made your experience with this particular video a lot better than it was. You can also, if you'll notice, there's a subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of this video that just ended that you can click on, and then you'll have to click on the bell in the upper right hand corner, and that will put you on my subscription list. And what that will do is get all of the videos that I create as I create them automatically sent to you. Okay, what you're looking at is just a made-up spreadsheet, and it could be anything. This particular one is a number of columns in date order, and it's just showing sales of a fictitious company. And it's showing some pieces of information about the sales. If you start looking at individual columns, column B says order date, column C says the region, D is the representative in that region, E is the item, whatever the name of it is. Then unit sales, and then cost per unit, not selling price. This one says cost. Starting inventory is the number of units that were on hand. Ending inventory after the sales are deducted, and you notice that's blank for now. And a quantity that's on order, future orders that are coming into the warehouse. And then the position, which is also a calculated number. So what we're going to illustrate here is not that this is the right information, the wrong information. It's just an example of what a spreadsheet might look like. And our goal is going to be to go through on this spreadsheet and make changes to it that are going to make it what we think is a more professional looking spreadsheet, and one that means something to the particular company that we represent or ourselves. So the first thing that you might notice when we look at this is that it's small. The writing is small. Now, that's fine if that's what you want, and depending on what it is you're trying to accomplish. But for the purposes of what we're going to be looking at today, I like the cells to show a lot bigger. So what have I done? I've highlighted all the cells in the spreadsheet. And then if you follow the cursor up to the top, you'll see where I am moving it now. It says Calibri body, which is really from the first video that we looked at. We're going to change the kind of type that we're using from Calibri body by clicking the down arrow. And I'm going to just select Arial. Why am I picking Arial? Because I like Arial. Is that the right thing to do or the wrong thing? There isn't an answer to that. Whatever it is that you want to do. Also, I think the printing is too small. So next to the type Arial, I'm going to select where it says 12, which is 12-point type. Click the down arrow, and I'm going to arbitrarily change that to 18. And when I do that, I think the type size looks a lot better. That's the good news. The bad news, I guess, is that it doesn't all fit into the cells. And it doesn't look very well when it does that. Now you have two options. While everything is highlighted like it is, we could go up into the menu bar where it says Format. See where my arrow is pointing now, and to the right of Format there's a down arrow. And when I select that, it gives me a whole bunch of choices, and one of them says Column Width. I'm going to click on Column Width, and I want to put in a column width that extends the size of it. These happen to be 10. Normally it would show you 10 if they were all the same. And I'm going to change from 10 to 16. Where did I get 16? I don't know, I just made it up. So let's take a look at what 16 looks like. When I do that, what you see is that I've extended that over. And so now it looks like everything pretty much fits in the cells that I have provided for them. You'll also notice that the picture of me talking to you has extended over onto the spreadsheet because of where I have chosen to place it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that picture over so that you'll be able to see what exactly it is that I am doing with the cells. Well, you can see now that for the most part, the type is nice and big, much easier to read. But if you look across at the various columns and you switch over to where it says in column I, ending inventory and starting inventory, those columns still aren't wide enough. And I don't want to change all of the columns, but I would like to change those couple of columns so that the data fit in there. And there's a way to do that. I'm going to highlight column I like I just did. And you notice that I've got the cursor on the right-hand side, and I'm just going to drag it over a little bit to the right. And now end inventory fits in. I could do the same thing if I wanted for H, starting inventory, and that fits in also. And I think that maybe that looks a little bit better. I look at region and I say, well, maybe it would be better if that was a little wider, so I'll drag that over just a wee bit. And so now I've got something that I think makes more sense, looks better. But I also think the data looks crowded, and so I think I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of the cells, just like I am doing here. Get them all highlighted down to the last one. And now I'm going to go back to Format, and then you'll notice there it's row height. So I'm going to click on row height, and it tells me that the height of each one of my rows is 23. Well, I don't know. I'm going to decide to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make it not double, 35. Where did I get 35? I just made it up. When I click on 35 and I look at it and I say, well, yeah, that looks pretty good. I could live with that. I could read that easily. And the people that work with me, they could do the same. So in that respect, I think that my table or my worksheet is looking a little better now than it looked when I started. But I still feel like there are things that ought to be done, certainly to enhance what I've got. I'm going to look at this header row here and highlight all of the numbers in that. And I would like to call people's attention to the header row because it's different than the data and it would point them to what each of the columns stands for. So I've highlighted all of the header rows. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the type style Arial. And I'm going to pick something else out of the drop-down menu that will make the title row look different than the rest. And it depends what it is that you like. There isn't a right answer. It's whatever you're going to be comfortable with. So I'm just going to pick out this bungee inline. Why? Just because. So when I pick out that shows me bold type. But once again, my columns aren't wide enough. So that's okay. I'm going to take column B and extend that a little bit so that order date fits in there. I'm going to take unit sales and extend that out a little bit. That fits in. Starting inventory, I'm going to extend that out a little bit. Ending inventory, I'm going to extend that out a little bit. And so I have ending inventory on order in the position that I find myself in each one of those, okay? And then I think to myself, well, okay, that looks okay, but maybe I don't like that after I got it in there. So I'm gonna highlight all of those cells again. And instead of using that format, I'm gonna just pick another one. Now I'm just playing around with this. This becomes a matter of personal preference. I'm going to take this Britannic type. It's highlighted. It shows a little bit better. It says that some of the columns that I have are now wider than I need them to be, but that's no problem. I can take H, for example, click on that and make it narrower. I can do the same thing with ending inventory, make that a little narrower. Unit sales, same thing, make it a little narrower. And so now what I've got is what I think something that looks better. But when I look at that, you'll notice that the writing goes from left to right, starting on the left-hand column. And because it's a header row and I want to distinguish it from the rest, I've highlighted all of those cells. Now follow the arrow. You will see that there is a group of things that shows lines. Where I'm pointing to now, it shows all of the type written to the left. Well, maybe I want it to be in the middle. If I highlight, while it's highlighted, if I click that, all of the type will move over so that it's listed in the middle of the cell. Now, right above that, you'll see that where within the cell is the data positioned. Now that I made the cells thicker, and I've got the one on the far right here, this one highlighted, the writing appears on the bottom of each cell. If I switch over and click the one in the middle, you'll notice for my header row, it's moved up a little bit within that. And I say, yeah, that looks better. Now I have a couple of more options. While it's still highlighted, you'll see that there's the letter A that I'm now pointing to, and it's got red underneath it. Next to it is a down arrow that I can click, and it says these are theme colors. Well, right now you'll notice black is highlighted. If I wanted to change the color of the writing in that cell, I could pick any of these colors, like I'm going to pick navy blue now, and everything in the cell changes to navy blue. Perhaps that's a better way to highlight the information, but I want to take another step. And the step that I want to take next to the one where it shows blue, you'll see another drop-down menu, and it talks about fill color. And it tells me that I don't have a fill in that cell. Well, maybe I want to have a fill, and I can pick any of these colors. I'm going to take yellow. And so look what I've done. I now have a header row which stands out from the rest of the data. If that's what I want to do, I have found a way to do that. Another option that I have, if I highlight all of the information and I want to make it easier to read, I don't have to do any of these things, but I'm choosing to do that for the reason of showing you how it's done. I'm going to go over here to where the arrow is moving, and I'm going to select Format, click the down arrow, and on the bottom of this cell, I'm going to click to format the cells. And when I do that, one of the options that it gives me, and my picture is really kind of over it, is I can put borders around all of the information. So I'm going to click once on outline and another one on inside. That tells me I want each one of the cells to have a border around it. And so when I do that and move off, you'll see that I've got all of the bottom cells with a border around it, and some of the top. Some of them haven't taken for me, and that's no big deal. I'm going to highlight all of these again, ones that didn't take because my picture was in the way. And I'm going to select Format, and I'm going to take the border again down here, and I'm going to say Outline and Inside and hit it again. Now what you can see is that every one of these items is in a cell with a separate border. And I think to myself, well, gee, that looks better, more professional. You might think you want to do it differently. I'm just doing that to illustrate. Now here's a blank column that says ending inventory. Well, if we look at the data that I've presented, you see that it starts out with a starting inventory right here of 190 on that first item. And I sold 95. So what does that mean? It means, and I'm going to key in equal sign, highlight the 190 minus what I sold, 95. When I hit the return key, it tells me that on that item, I have an ending inventory after I fill those orders for the 95 of 95 left. Now I want to do that for each one of the cells in this column. A pain in the butt if I did it individually, but I don't have to. I'm going to highlight that 95. And when I do that, you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little dot. I'm going to put my cursor over that little dot, and I'm going to drag this down all the way down to the bottom of the column. And when I get to the bottom of the column, that all the cells are highlighted and let go, what you're going to see happens is that formula is copied to every one of my cells. It wouldn't take me any longer, basically, if there was 1,000 different items on this data set. In this case, there isn't that many, but you can see how quickly I can move that over. Now let's look at position. What is position? Well, position is taking my ending inventory and adding my on order. How will I do that? I start with the first column and I say equal. I take ending inventory, highlight that, select the plus key, and add to that the 100 that I have on order. When I'm happy that that's what I want, I hit the return key and it tells me that my position on this is 195. Once again, I want to copy that information to the rest of the cells. So I put my cursor on the little dot and I drag those all the way down to the bottom of the column. And when I let go, we now see that what I've got is starting to look pretty darn professional, right? All of the data in a particular fashion, much easier to read, and currently shown in date order, but I'm not quite through. You'll notice that in column G it says unit cost. That's money. So I'm going to highlight all of the cells in column G, just like I'm just doing for you now. And when they're all highlighted, I'm going to go up to the menu bar. You see where I'm moving the cursor, where it says General? Underneath that, there's a bunch of choices. The first one shows a dollar sign. So I'm going to click on that dollar sign. And then, lo and behold, every one of the items in that column has changed to showing that it's money and it represents dollars of cost. Okay? In my position, that's not dollars, those are units of measure. Big difference. But now I have that in that column. So now I have data that I think is going to be easier for the people I work with to use. But there's still a whole bunch of other things that I might do depending on how I want to use this particular spreadsheet in my business. And so we're going to move off of what we've done so far, and now we're going to talk about some ways that we can group this data differently so that it'll have a new and a better meaning for us. Okay, before we leave this spreadsheet that we were working on, I want to go through and show you how you would do a basic sort. Recognize a couple of things. First of all, I'm doing this work, as I told you earlier, on a Mac desktop. And the commands that I'm using also work on a MacBook. They work on a PC-based desktop or a laptop also. This is not structured to be used on an iPad Pro. And recognize that the reason you're looking at these videos is to enhance your position at your existing job, or when looking for a new job, to be able to say when they ask you about your skills in Excel that you have them and that you can do the basic stuff. So when we finish this video, you will have a very good understanding, I hope, of some of the basics of Excel. The videos will continue afterwards, which will give you a more sophisticated and complete look at other options that you can perform using Excel. And kind of the best way to do that, it'll be good for you to review those videos, but the best answer is going to be working with the stuff on a regular basis. And the longer you work with it, the more familiar you'll become with what is needed in order to do a good job in Excel. You'll notice that this particular website has been resorted. And it's resorted in a way where it's now sorted by representative. So before we get started, I'm going to put it back the way it was when you looked at the last video. You notice I've highlighted the first cell in the upper left-hand corner. You'll also notice that there's a little dot in the lower right-hand corner. What I want to do is highlight all of the data and take you back to how it looked when it was sorted in date order. Now, you got to be careful not to drag by that little dot in the lower right-hand corner. because that's a way you copy formulas and copy data. If you just want to highlight like we do, I'm going to go to the middle of the cell and I'm going to drag it across so that everything in the header row is highlighted. And then I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom so that all of the data is currently highlighted. And for illustration purposes, now that it's all highlighted, if you remember just a minute or so ago when we were looking at the last portion of this video, everything was sorted in date order. Well, I'm going to move the cursor up to that second menu row, and you'll see second from the right, there's a little icon that says sort and filter. I'm going to select the little down arrow that's there, and you'll see that it gives me three choices: sort oldest to newest, sort newest to oldest, custom sort. When you just select sort in Excel, it automatically assumes you want to sort by the column at the extreme left. So if I would say select oldest to newest, which I'm going to do, all of the data will be now sorted in date order from January ending in December. This is exactly the way the worksheet looked before this portion of the video started. What we're going to want to do, however, is we're going to want to sort this differently. So I'm leaving everything highlighted, and I'm going to click sort and filter again. And I don't want to sort by the extreme left column. I decided I want to sort this by the representative, and within the representative, by the order, alphabetical order of what he sold or she sold. So I'm going to click custom sort, and now it's telling me, as I told you, that it's wants the default to order date. But I don't want to sort by order date. So to the right of order date, there's an up and down arrow. I'm going to select that. The drop-down menu gives me a choice of sorting by any one of the columns in the header row. And I'm going to pick representative. When I do that, the row now reads sort by representative, the values from A to Z. Okay. Now I'm going to select the plus key. It says, then by what? After I sort by representative, what do I want Excel to do? So I'll click the up down arrow again, and now I'm going to select item, A to Z. So when I say OK, this should change so that I am now showing the data sorted by representative in item order. And what's super important is I'm keeping the integrity of the demand. I can sort it 16 different ways, and each one of the columns will stay where it belongs to reflect a true picture of the data. I'm going to say OK now. And now you could see the representative who starts with A, Arneson, he's first. The stuff that he sold is also sorted alphabetically, and so on and so forth for the whole list. Depending on how I'm going to use this worksheet will dictate how I want to sort it. As we go further into the instructional videos, I am going to be showing you some more sophisticated ways that you can look at the data and sort it so that it becomes much more user-friendly to you. And the more you learn about Excel, the faster and easier it's going to be able to manipulate the data in a form that's going to give you the most information in the shortest period of time. Okay, you just watched the second video designed to get you familiar with Excel. Once you've watched the whole series, you're going to be able to add Excel skills to your resume, and you'll have an opportunity after you view the whole series of tutorials on this subject to take a brief quiz, and the quiz will demonstrate to you, hopefully, that you do have a basic understanding of how Excel works. And then once you've taken the quiz, there is a certificate that would be available to you that confirms your knowledge of basic Excel. And there'll be more information on this at the end of all of the videos on this subject. You can always look for other Excel training videos on my website. There's the web address for that. Certainly, if you enter a comment below in the comment section and provide some information for me, I can make sure that as new videos are released, you'll automatically get a copy. You can also, on the lower right-hand corner of the video, you'll see a little red subscribe button. If you click on that, you'll automatically get copies of new videos as I post them. Your comments mean a lot. I would appreciate that before you leave the video, if you took a minute or two to go to comments, and at the very least, just let me know how you're going to be using Excel and why you're taking this tutorial. This is what's going to help me to improve what I'm showing to you, what I'm presenting. Any other comments you have are certainly appreciated. If you thought the video was good, a thumbs up would be great. If you think that there are other things that need to be done to make it better, to help you to understand it better, if you provide me that information too, I will do my best to incorporate that in future videos, and perhaps even revise the videos that I do have out there so that they'll be more meaningful to you. If it really sucked and you hated it, then a thumbs down on why you said that. That will also help me to do a better job of improving what it is that I'm presenting to you.